Hello and welcome to yet another book haul. I have more, a lot more. This has taken me about 3 months to amass. I have close to 50 books here, which is potentially problematic, but you know, this is who I am. And at this point, I've just accepted it. Buying books makes me happy, so I let myself. So let's get into yet another massive book haul and hope that this one will not also surpass an hour in length, because that's annoying to y'all to watch, but mostly to me to edit because it's unpleasant. And also, when I was filming, trying to grab the thumbnail clip, I might have just dropped books all over myself repeatedly. So now I'm bruised. Today is fun. I don't know exactly why or how I got most of these books. I just got them because I wanted them. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. So let's start. The first book I got, I don't remember any of these. I'm looking at the titles. I was looking at them as I was holding them up for the thumbnail, and I'm like, I don't remember buying these. This doesn't even look familiar to me. The 100-Year Walk, an Armenian Odyssey by Anahid MacKeen. This is a nonfiction book about an Armenian man in World War I. His family has all been deported to internment camps, and he slowly realizes that they're all going to die. And this is about his journey of survival, I guess. It's told by his granddaughter. She's the one who wrote this book. And I think she found like a journal or something of his. Sounded interesting. I'd not heard of it before, and I don't actually remember picking this up, but I must have. But it sounds like a really good book. So, interesting. Haven't read much about World War I, so I think that's why I was like especially keen on this one. It sounds like it's very much for me, but also about World War I, which is like a big spot of ignorance in my brain. So, win-win, I think. Hello, Spleen. The Color of Our Sky by Anita Trasi. This is a fiction book set in India in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Based on the description, about a 10-year-old girl who is in a lower caste of Indian society, and she's set to become a temple prostitute, only then she becomes a maid for an upper class family. And then one day she disappears, and the daughter in that family had become close friends with her, and I think as an adult, she tries to figure out what happened to her friend, and lots of secrets and betrayal and love and ultimately redemption, apparently. Sounds interesting. Once again, let's just say these are all interesting and move on with that. But yeah, that one sounded different. Haven't read much about the 80s in India. I'm sorry if this gets knocked in any point. Splain's kind of going around doing what she wants. She doesn't really have any respect for things that aren't her body. Water, Tales of Elemental Spirits by McKinley and Peter Dickinson. This is just a short story collection of, I think, 7 stories by McKinley and Peter Dickinson about like water spirits and elementals and like mermaid, like just like anything magical that involves the water, I think. I mostly picked this up for McKinley. I don't know anything about Peter Dickinson. I can't speak today, which makes today a wonderful time to have attempted to film a video. Yeah, I mostly picked this up for McKinley because I read a couple of her books a few years back and I really enjoyed them. Should probably read more from her, more of her novels, and I got this instead. So I like short stories. Hopefully this will be fun. Riding Fury Home by Chana Wilson. This is a nonfiction book. It's her memoir. When she was 7, her mother attempted suicide, wound up in a psychiatric facility, and then when she came home, the author was kind of like her caretaker in a sense, and years later, she realized that the reason for her mother's depression was that her mother was a lesbian, was having a secret affair, and basically all the abusive like psychiatric treatments to cure her of being a lesbian. So I don't really know what this is about, or what time period it's set in. It doesn't say, so this could have been like the 50s or like the 80s. Who knows? Yeah, so I like memoirs. I like the 50s, I think. Well, this talks about the 50s versus the 70s. And I'm like, I have no idea what that means. Is this set in the 50s maybe? I don't know. I haven't heard of this author before, but I like memoirs and it sounded cool. The Man of My Dreams by Curtis Sittenfeld. To be honest, I didn't actually look up what this book was about when I got it. I mostly just picked it up because it's Curtis Sittenfeld. This is the 4th of her books that I've bought, and I've read exactly one of them. So hopefully that book was not a fluke, and I do really enjoy her writing style, because otherwise I'm in for a rough time here. But this is about a young girl and the trials and tribulations of her life, I think. It starts when she's 14, I believe, and kind of goes through her 20s. It's about her relationship with her parents, her relationship with men, her boyfriends, her cousin, just like everyone in her life. I think it's just like a very coming of age story. I think it's adult, but like coming of age adult, you know? Yeah, I don't really know much about it. This isn't the Curtis Sittenfeld book that I've heard a lot about, because I have read about her, I've heard about some of her other books, and this one I just kind of saw in a thrift shop and was like, yes, I want it. Give me anything Curtis Sittenfeld. So very happy for this one. I'll add to my collection and hopefully read some more of them soon, so I'm not just sitting here like, well, I really like the one apart from the parts that made me uncomfortable, so I just love her. But I think it's a good author who, like, you read one of their books and just immediately buy like 3 more. Every Note Played by Lisa Genova. I read Still Alice, which is about a college professor, psychology professor, maybe, who has Alzheimer's, and it's told in first person perspective as she's kind of losing her memory and losing grips on like who she is. This is similar in vein. It's about a concert pianist who has ALS, and it's about his decline. Very similar in theme. Normally this premise would turn me off a little bit, but I really, really love Still Alice. I thought it was a great book. So I kind of just wanted to grab another Lisa Genova book. I don't like that they sound so similar, because when authors have books that sound very, very similar in terms of like themes and everything, I do get a little bit turned off by that, because it's just like, to me. But I don't know, I want to give this a go and see if I like it. Hopefully as much as Still Alice. Deep Creek, Finding Hope in the High Country by Pam Houston. I've talked about Pam Houston before. I read that awful collection of essays, the Fat Nonfiction Anthology, which was just like horrific. Getting rid of that. Have gotten rid of that actually. But I really liked Pam Houston's essay in that. I thought it was great. I thought it was really well written. It was like the only one, I mean, there were a few good essays in it, but that was the only one that really stuck out to me. So I wanted to buy one of her books. She writes a lot of nonfiction, a lot of essays, a lot of nature writing, which doesn't generally appeal to me. This is a collection of essays about her on a 120-acre homestead. I think this is like after her mother has died, and she's just like dealing with her grief. She's traveling from the Gulf of Mexico to Alaska. This is described as linked essays, as lucid and invigorating as mountain air. And it's just like, I think, random meditations on like how she's living with grief, what the wilderness or nature means to her, like she was abused as a child. I think it's just like random stuff, but I don't know, it doesn't sound like super my thing, but I really, really loved her essay in that anthology, so I'm willing to go outside my comfort zone a little bit. And one of my professors in college was really, really into like nature writing, nonfiction essays, nature writing and stuff. So I always kind of like, whenever I pick up something that like I think he would be into, I'm always kind of like, this reminds me of one of my favorite professors, which makes me happy, which is stupid because this was like almost 10 years ago now. But yeah, I'm excited to like try her and maybe like her, because she's written like a number of things. So I'm just starting with one because, again, doesn't sound like my thing, but I do really want to love her. Thank you, Spleen. Sold on a Monday by Kristen McMorris. This is about the Great Depression. It's a novel. There's essentially a sign on a farm that says 2 children for sale during the Great Depression in America. And a reporter at the time, this is not like this is not someone looking back on the past. This is a reporter during the Great Depression sees this sign and wants to learn more about it. And I think it just is about him and the children and like what happens. Maybe when I was working in a bookstore, this was sitting on a table, and sometimes I would get bored and like read books because there was really not much going on. So I read like part of this one, and it wasn't amazing, but I always kind of wanted to read more. And then I went into this really cute bookshop when I was in a different town, and it was just like, oh my god, my favorite place ever. Just books like stacked to the ceilings. Like the dude at the counter clearly didn't care about anything. It was just like a great time, you know? Like I wanted to live in that bookshop, and I wanted to buy a book there, and I didn't really have time to just like spend hours searching through the shelves, and I saw this and was like, let's buy it. This seems fun. But yeah, I don't think I'm gonna love this book, but I did really want to read it. And I also just really wanted to support that bookshop because it was like the most amazing place on earth. I don't even know what it was called because the sign outside just said books, 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 and I was like, this is lovely. I like this. There should be more places like this. Babylon's Ashes by James S.A. Corey. This is book 6 in the Expanse series. I own the first 5. I've read the first one, and I've seen like 2/3 of the show. So I don't really have much to say about this book, but this is a series that is like a science fiction space opera type thing, which is so not my thing. But I loved the show, so I decided to try the first book. And the first book was amazing. I loved it. So I need to sit down and read all of these, but like there's like 9 or 10 and they're thick as anything. And it's like, do I want to spend just like so many weeks of my life reading this space opera thing? And the answer is yes, but I'm also very lazy. So I've been slowly collecting them, and they're so pretty. And I read the first one, but I would highly recommend based on the first one on the show because they were both phenomenal. But yeah, slowly collecting. Mission at Nuremberg, an American Army Chaplain and the Trial of the Nazis by Tim Townsend. This is a nonfiction book about an army chaplain who wound up being involved in the trial of Nuremberg. He was essentially sent to Nuremberg to be like the minister for the 21 Nazis who were in prison there, which is sketch because he was also like, he was enlisted in the war as a chaplain. I said that. This is just about that. It's nonfiction. I don't really know super much about this. When I picked it up, I wasn't sure if it was fiction or nonfiction because it didn't sound like my thing if it was fiction. But it is nonfiction, and I'm just fascinated by it. It sounds like I like things that are a different perspective on World War II because this isn't something that like you would really think about very much. And I don't know. I'm just kind of curious what he went through. So, interesting book. Maybe. I haven't read it. Maybe it's garbage. That's possible for all of these. Excuse me, ma'am. You can't just eat my books. I also got myself The Fall by Neal Stephenson. This was at work. We had a clearance book bin, and I was having a bad day, so I was like, let's buy a book from the bin. And I recognized his name, and no one else's. Well, actually, I recognized a few names, but either I already had their books, or I did not recognize their names for good reasons. So this is the second Neal Stephenson book that I have. The first is Snow Crash? Snowpiercer? Something like that. Actually, I think Snowpiercer's the movie where Chris Evans eats babies. Maybe. I don't remember. I own one of his books that I think is the Ready Player One inspiration. I don't know what this is about. It's massive. Is this 1,000 pages? Please tell me. Oh no, it's like 900. That's fine. I have no idea what this is about. It's about a gaming company. Corporation 9592, a gaming company, made this dude a multi-billionaire. And he's pronounced brain dead. I think this is Ready Player One as well. Okay. This is also Ready Player One, I think. Just like 4 times as long. Yeah, but I'm curious to read it. Oh, it has a fall or dodge in hell. I missed that. Okay. Hopefully it's good because it's 900 pages long. But I don't know anything about it. I just wanted to buy a book because I had a bad day at work. That's pretty much the extent of that. The Girls at 17 Swann Street, a novel by Yara Zgheib. I'm sorry. It's about a young woman's struggle with anorexia. She's a professional dancer who moved to Missouri and struggles with anorexia, and she winds up being forced into treatment. This is the address of like the inpatient facility where she is, I think. I was looking at books with about eating disorders sometime, and this book was like highly recommended. I don't remember by who or what list, but like I remember this being on the list, so when I saw it at the thrift store, I was like super excited. I haven't actually heard anyone like discuss it on BookTube, I think, but I do really, really want to read it. Like, this was one that I saw it at the store, and I was like, I wasn't planning on buying books today, but I desperately, desperately want this. So I'll probably be reading this book fairly shortly. Les Mis by Victor Hugo, because apparently I was just down to buy massively long books in the last 3 months. Somehow they fit this into 1,000 pages. Do you want to know how? Look at this. This is absurd. I hate this so much. Like, how does anyone read this? There are no margins and the font is tiny. But, I don't know. I randomly just desperately wanted Les Mis. I haven't read Victor Hugo before. I'd been intending to read The Hunchback of Notre Dame first because it's significantly shorter. And then I just randomly needed this book, like so bad. Like I was going to just buy it. So I did. It's huge. I don't want to read it. Like it sounds really interesting and I want to read it, but it's huge. And the font is so tiny and there are no margins. How is it still this huge? I don't know. I'm sure it's going to be good, but I feel like it's just going to be suffering to get through. I don't like a book that I have to hold with 2 hands, but I literally can't just hold that with one. Outlawed, a novel by Anna North. This was a gift. I like getting books for Christmas and my birthday, and everyone is always afraid to buy me books because I own so many. They're like, look at these shelves. How do I buy you something that I know you don't have? And I was like, okay, you can buy me something that's a 2021 release because I can guarantee you, unless it's a Lisa Gardner or Karen Slaughter book, I have not read it because I don't read new releases. So I got this. I love getting surprise books, and I love this because it's so far out of my comfort zone and sounds really, really good. In the year of our Lord, 1894, I became an outlaw. What isn't to love about this? It's like a feminist Wild West story. It sounds good. Basically, she's been married for years and years, hasn't had children, and women who are barren are frequently hanged as witches. So she runs away and joins an outlaw group, and then bad things happen. I'm excited. Now, this is something I would never, ever pick up for myself, and yet it sounds so good, so I'm very, very excited for it. Black Spring by Alison Croggon. This is inspired by Wuthering Heights, and that's really all I know about it. I bought it because Alison Croggon wrote the books of Pelennor, which I absolutely adore, and I've literally never read anything else by her except for those 4 books, so I was like, let's buy another book of hers. So I bought this. I've not read Wuthering Heights. I know everyone hates Wuthering Heights. I plan to read it, but yeah, I just bought this for Alison Croggon, so hopefully it's good. I have 3 Dear America diaries. A Coal Miner's Bride, The Diary of Anetka Kaminska, which is set in Pennsylvania in 1896. I tried to half say Philadelphia and Pennsylvania at the same time. This was written by Susan Campbell Bartoletti. They don't have the authors' names on the covers of these. And this is just about a girl who was a coal miner's bride in 1896. These are all just middle grade historical fiction diaries. I love them so much. They're my favorites. So Far From Home, The Diary of Mary Driscoll, an Irish mill girl in Massachusetts, 1847. the titles of these basically tell you what they're about, so I'm not going to bother describing them. This was written by Barry Denenberg. Again, he's apparently written a lot of these because as I've been buying them, his name's come up quite a few times. Splain's freaking out over here. And the last one is One Eye Laughing, the Other Weeping, The Diary of Julie Weiss in Vienna, Austria to New York, 1938. So I guess we know what this is about if it was 1938 Austria. And this one was written by also Barry Denenberg. He wrote a lot of these. I didn't know that. But I love those books. I've been collecting them. I'm not trying to collect like all of them because I feel like that would be somewhat ridiculous. But I'm trying to collect like, I don't know. They make me happy to have. So I'll have a decent collection. But like, there are probably hundreds of those books. I have no idea how many there are, but I'm assuming a lot. Then I got 3 more books in a series. The Hardy Boys Casefiles. These were like, are these 90s books or 80s books? When was this? What is the copyright date on this? Oh, I saw the page. Copyright 1987. So these are 80s books. They're this little Hardy Boys book series that's just like so dramatic. I just remember reading them and they were like absurdly dramatic. And I had a few, but they were the kind of books where like things happened and you couldn't really read them out of order. So like it was so confusing if you tried to read them out of order. Because like at one point, Joe's girlfriend Isla, who's in like the original series, she just like died. And I was like, this is the Hardy Boys. Like, what is going on? So I'm trying to like slowly collect like a number of these because they make me happy and they're so ridiculous and like, and things happened in these books. Like the taglines on the back: Voice of Doom, Death is Business as Usual, Terrorist Bombs and Bullets. Oh my god, the first line on this: when Joe's girlfriend Isla is blown to bits by a bomb. Like what? These are the Hardy Boys. I'm very excited for these. This is the first one, the second one, and the 5th one. Oh, his girlfriend got blown up in the first one? I didn't know that. These are interesting. I'm not gonna say they're like the most amazing things ever, but I want to read them. Like, they killed Joe's girlfriend in the first book. His canon girlfriend, who was the sister of his best friend. Like, I don't know how you just do that. It's the Hardy Boys, but I'm very excited. I need to just go ahead and buy more of those, but they're a little bit difficult to find. I also picked up Shout by Laurie House Anderson. This is a nonfiction book about her sexual assault and writing Speak and like how her sexual assault kind of tied in with Speak. That's why it's called Shout. This is also a signed copy, which is cool. Where is it signed? Oh look, it's signed. That's fun. That's not why I got it. I just wanted a copy of this book and I found this at a thrift store. But like, still very, very excited about it. Night Road by Hannah. I shouldn't have bought this. I know I shouldn't have bought this. I have not liked 2 of the 3 Kristen Hannah books I've read. And I have another one on my shelf, so I should at least finish them all before I buy new ones. Spleen, she's being loud again. This is about a woman whose twins are in their senior year of high school and she's always put them first, and now bad things happen. I don't really know what those bad things are, but apparently it like tears them apart. We'll see. I don't have high hopes for this one because I didn't like True Colors and I didn't like The Great Alone, but I loved Winter Garden. So hopefully this is more like Winter Garden than the other 2. My Best Friend's Girl by Dorothy Coomson. This I read as a child, basically a child. I read this when I was a teenager in high school. It was like one of the books my mother was reading or something, maybe, or I just pulled it off the shelf randomly. But I kind of thought this was a Cecilia Ahern book. I don't know why. I think because it was like set in the UK, even though Cecilia Ahern is like Irish. I don't know. I was like 14, so who knows what I was thinking at the time. This is about a woman whose best friend dies and she winds up taking custody of her best friend's daughter, hence the title. And it basically just deals with that, and it's very sad, and I remember really, really enjoying it. But again, I was like 14, so who knows? But I don't know. When I saw it, I was kind of like, oh, I have a lot of happy feelings about that book, so I kind of got it, and we'll see. The Words of Every Song by Liz Moore. This is apparently 14 linked episodes about like the music industry. Doesn't sound like my thing, but I adore Liz Moore. I read 3 of her books, and 2 of them have been 5 stars, and she wrote The Unseen World, which is like potentially my favorite book of all time. So I'm kind of just slowly making my way through everything she's written. This was on the list. Very happy to try it. I'm sure it will be good because she is a wonderful writer, regardless of my initial interest in the synopsis. But yeah, I don't know really much about this because I just got it because it was Liz Moore. Then I have I have Found by Margaret Peterson Haddix, which is part of the Missing series. This is book 1. There are 5 books in the series. I think I got confused when I bought this because I didn't realize this was a science fiction series. I don't know why I didn't realize that, but I kind of just collect Margaret Peterson Haddix books. I liked her as a child. She writes like weird speculative stuff, like really weird, that doesn't generally appeal to me, but I always loved her as a kid, and I kind of just like still have that attachment to her. I like the way she writes it, even if it's not stuff that I would generally gravitate towards by other authors. So yeah, I'm kind of just like slowly collecting her books that I see, and at some point I need to like create a list of her books that I own because I have no idea what I have of hers and what I don't. And then I have 2 Sonia Soanes books because I do love Sonia Soanes, and I've been slowly reading all her books. The first is nonfiction, Stop Pretending What Happened When My Big Sister Went Crazy, which is maybe the shortest book I've ever seen because not only is it like 12 pages long, I mean it's like what, 143 pages long, but it's like written in verse, so it's like short. It's a short 143 pages. I don't think this is nonfiction. It's based on Sonia Soanes' life. It's fiction though. And it's basically just about a young girl whose older sister has an unexpected mental breakdown. And it's just about that. I don't really know, but I know people adore this book, and I just love Sonia Soanes. She writes like YA novels in verse, and they're all really good, so I highly recommend her if you like young adult novels in verse. And the other book I got by her is To Be Perfectly Honest, which is significantly thicker, but still an incredibly short book. And it's about the 15-year-old daughter. Oh no, it's about a liar. Sorry, I forgot what book this was. I was like, oh, she said she's the 15-year-old daughter of a movie star. And I was like, oh wait, no. She also says she's the 1,000-year-old daughter of a vampire. It's about a girl who's like a pathological liar, I think. I don't know anything else about this. I just got it because it was Sonia Soanes, so hopefully it's good. I still have a stack of books. I don't know why I buy myself so many books. I have a problem. I got Perfume, The Story of a Murderer by Patrick Suskind. Once upon a time in 18th century France, there lived a human monster unlike anything mankind has ever known. I don't know what this is about. A vampire of scent whose bloody, insane quest takes him beyond the boundaries of love and death. It's about a murderer. I don't know. This has been recommended to me by multiple people, and I always wanted to buy it, and then I did. So people talk about how great this book is, so I have no idea what it's about. It doesn't really describe much on the back. It's the story of a murderer. That's basically the best description I got for you. Hopefully it's good. Then I got Bruno, Chief of Police by Martin Walker. I don't know what this is about. It's about a policeman in the south of France in a small village, and a murder happens of an elderly North African, and now there's like lots of issues going on essentially. I wasn't going to get this book, but I went to like a couple of different thrift shops and it was there at every one, and I felt like it was following me, and I was like somewhat curious in it, not super curious, so I just got it. Yeah. It's good though. Hopefully it's good. I don't, it's not exactly the kind of thing I would pick up. Apparently, it deals with, like, Nazi era issues and, like, race issues in France, and he's a cop, but, like, more in a, like, neighborly sense than in, like, a he investigates crimes sort of way. I don't know. It was following me, so I just felt the urge to buy it, which, I don't think there's a better illustration than that on my issue with buying books. Then I guess we'll get into, like, the indie books I bought, because I bought, like, 4 random indie books. The first, let's start over here. I kind of randomly asked on Twitter for book recommendations, and some indie authors were like, hey, read my book. So I was like, sure, which is how I got these 3. The Homecoming, a novel by Ken McCarthy, which is about a family. One son died in Vietnam. One son is a photographer who's now missing and presumed dead. And then the last son is kind of like on his own. And this is set around the Vietnam War. Sounds interesting. Also, I was just reading Tim O'Brien's memoir of Vietnam, If I Die in a Combat Zone, when this was recommended. So I was like, yes, more Vietnam, because I love that one. So this sounds interesting. I'm sorry that I butchered the description, but I do like Vietnam type stories, and it sounds fascinating. The next one I got is The Elusive Family Secret by Ken Astley. Essentially, there's a family secret that has been passed along through generations. Before the death of his father, Charles comes to know that he'd been harboring a major secret. He doesn't know what the secret is, but he knows it's his responsibility to keep it. And now it's kind of passed along to his son, who is the grandson of the original secret holder. So, like, it's about this secret that they're all trying to keep, and no one really knows what the secret is. So, sounds fascinating. And then I got Carla by Michael Grabowski, which is Carla Al-Hassan lives in 2 worlds. In one, she is a normal person, and in the other, she's a professional killer who works for a domestic terrorist group. Yeah, and I think it's about her maybe not being able to keep that hidden anymore on account of being a professional killer. But I like it. Sounds good. Sounds interesting. A little bit more like, I don't know, definitely outside my comfort zone, but I like it. And then the last indie book that I got is Heirs of Power. Yes, Heirs of Power by Kate McLeod, which is book 1 of the Constellation Saga, which I've been meaning to get for a long time. This is a fantasy series. It's written by the sister of Cast and Camera, who I've been watching for a long time. And I kept meaning to, like, buy this book for ages and ages and ages. And then I finally did. Yeah, it's just a fantasy series where they're like, she's been gifted powers from an ancient spirit that have been passed down by her father, and there's a powerful enemy emerging, and her and her friends, who are a highborn dancer and a snarky juggler, and there's an army, and I don't know, it's fantasy. It seems fun. I'm terrible at describing books. Mostly I just get off on, like, telling you the vibes I get from them. The vibes. This is cool fantasy vibes. Like, I love the cover. So yeah, those are the 4 indie books I got for very little reason, as with all of these. Then I got The Poet X by Elizabeth Acevedo. Do I need to describe this? This is a novel in verse. Yes. It's a novel in verse about a girl in her Harlem neighborhood. She wants to join a slam poetry club, but her mother's religious. So, YA. Everyone on BookTube seems to adore this, and I've wanted to read it for a while, and I found the copy, so I'm excited. Yay! Trying to get through these, because this video is getting lengthy. Still Missing by Beth Guccion. This rings no bells for me. Like, it doesn't even sound familiar. Her son goes missing. Her 6-year-old son says goodbye, walks down the street to his school, never arrives at school, and just disappeared, and no one knows why. And then it's about the mother after her son goes missing. I like missing persons books, so that's clearly why I got this, because this just, even looking at this, I'm like, this doesn't look like something I picked up. The author doesn't sound, I don't know, but I like missing persons cases, so that's fun. It better be fun. Let's leave the two that I got intentionally for last. I keep dropping things. This is why I don't film after a long day of work, so I'm just done. The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. This is a profoundly compelling portrait of the perfect English butler and his fading I can't even talk anymore. It's about a butler. I've heard people love this. I think it's just like a character study, essentially, and I love that. I love really slow, drawn out character studies, so every time someone talks about this book, I'm just like, I will love that book. I have to love that book. So I'm gonna be kind of crushed if I don't love this, because it just sounds like my kind of thing. The Good Girls and Ordinary Killing by Sonia Falero. This is about, what is this about? It's about two Indian girls. They went missing, and hours later they were found dead, and in a small village in India, and it's just about them, their investigation, the national coverage about it, and like everything that kind of like tore the village apart, and I love it. I love books like this, so very excited. Have never heard of this before, so if you've read this or have heard of it, let me know, because I really hope it's amazing. I want it to be amazing, but again, don't really know anything about it. Hopefully it's good though, because I just like, this is one of those books I read the description and I just want it to be good. I'm like, I'm gonna be sad if it's not good, because with most books I don't care. Like, I read it and it's not good and I'm like, that's disappointing. I feel like I would be actively sad if this is bad, because like it sounds so good. It sounds like it's more about like what the murders mean than like the actual like investigation into the killers and everything. Like, it doesn't seem like it's a thriller so much as it's like a discussion on like what's going on. Maybe I'm wrong. The Anger Book of New American Short Stories, edited by Ben Marcus, with a bunch of names on the cover of who contributed stories to this book. Yeah, this is just a collection of short stories. Jhumpa Lahiri, George Saunders, Anthony Doerr, David Foster Wallace. These are the ones I recognize. I'm sure there are more. I was just kind of vibing buying a short story collection. I've not heard of this one. I don't know who Ben Marcus is, but I wanted a short story collection, so I got this. And then the last two things are actually very intentional things I got that I've wanted to read for a while. Dope Sick by Beth Macy. Dealers, Doctors, and the Drug Company That Addicted America. This got turned into like the Hulu show miniseries, whatever it's called. I don't know, but this is nonfiction. And is it set in Virginia? She's from Virginia. My father knows her. He interviewed her. He's like big fan. My father knows everyone. Like, I don't know how much I've talked about this on here, but like, you know how people play like the 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon? You can do that with my father because he knows everyone and it's kind of scary. Like, I'll like talk to him about a random book. Be like, oh yeah, this book was really good by so-and-so. And he's like, oh yeah, I know their brother. And I'm like, how? Like, they're not even like Virginians. They're just like, it's just a random, I don't know. But I saw the Hulu series and I wanted to watch it, and I know it was based on a book, so I was kind of curious about the book, and then my father was talking about how great it was and how much he loves her, so I wanted to get the book and read it before I watched the series, because I don't really care about things like that, but when I'm like actively interested in the book, I kind of just want to like experience it first. And then the last thing I got is Guest House for Young Widows, Among the Women of Isis by Zgheib Moaveni. This is covered in plastic wrap, so I can't actually like open it and read the description of it, so I don't remember what it's about. It's nonfiction about women of ISIS. I don't know in what capacity. I saw this book back when I worked at the bookstore. It was on like our new release shelf and it was very expensive because it was a hardback, and I was like, I really desperately want this book, because I actually read the description and was like, this sounds so fascinating. Don't remember what it's about, but I always remembered that I wanted it. And yeah, essentially That's why I finally got it, and I'm very happy about that, even if I can't tell you anything about it. Let me open it so I can at least, like, give you a decent summary. I don't know why they ship this covered in plastic wrap. It seems unnecessary to me. Okay, what's this about? Apparently it's about girls from the West who were recruited into ISIS, like, from America or, like, European countries or whatever, who left to join ISIS, and basically what happened to them, how they were recruited, like, basically how much they were lied to and everything like that. And I don't know, it sounds fascinating. I really, really wanted to read this at the time. This was like years ago, but I remembered it and how much I wanted it all this time. So I feel like that tells you a lot. Hopefully this book is good. Hopefully all these books are good, but there are a few that I have really high hopes for, this being one of them. But I'm very, very exciting. It better be good. Yeah, I bought a lot of books. This is less than an hour of raw footage, which means it's not going to be an absurdly long video, I hope. It's still rather long though. So, as always, thank you for watching. If you have any thoughts or comments on these, please let me know. I have not heard of most of them, don't know anything about the majority of them, so I always like to hear if you've heard of or read any of them. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all again soon.